Hello everyone, it's Nikki Gordon-Bloomfield here from Transport Evolved. Welcome to the new Transport Evolved hang time. Please bear with me because I'm just starting the stream right now. I'm going to tweet this out. I'm going to make sure everyone knows what's going on. This is the first ever Transport Evolved hang time, which is a Patreon perk initially. And if you support Transport Evolved through patreon.com/Transport Evolved, I want to show my appreciation by having this live hangout session in which you can join, you can ask me questions, and you can talk about the world of Transport Evolved. We've got the live chat window right up there, as you can see. I'm waiting for everyone to join me, so if you've not seen the Transport Evolved website before, or the Transport Evolved YouTube channel, head on over there, www.transportevolved.com. You can also check out our YouTube channel, and we are streaming live, so jump on. I'm going to tweet this to everybody so everyone knows that we're taking part, and then from there, hopefully, we'll be able to have a nice conversation with everybody for the next hour. We'll be here for another hour. And for some reason, my audio, I can hear my audio coming back, so I'm just going to actually, there we go. I clicked the wrong button there. There we go. Whoops. Let me just do that, and then hopefully you can all see me and hear me. And this is slightly different to the Patreon $30 per month and higher patron hangout, in which if you donate more than $30 a month to Transport Evolved, you actually get to hang with me in an actual factual Google Hangouts, as opposed to this, which is a live stream on the internet. So there's slight differences here, but let me just tweet to everybody that we're currently live. Doop 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 doo. For some reason, I don't believe that we are live streaming, so just bear with me here because I think it's not showing up as live. In which case, I'm talking to myself, which would be very, very bad. Hello, the 10 people watching. There are 10 people watching, so head to Transport Evolved, head to YouTube. I will put the link here in the player, and you will be able to chat with me directly. I will also put it in Twitter, and then just sign into YouTube and you will need to join up here. So here's the live. Alrighty. And then I'm going to retweet. Bump, 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 retweet. There we go. And there we go. Hang with me. All right, so lots of people are now. How do you feel about the numerous comments you received about the massive dangers involved in a Hyperloop transport system? Surprised. Example, any rupture at all may cause explosion of huge size. Now, for those who watched the video yesterday, and I've got effectively a good comment for this to make. For those who watched the video yesterday, I made a video on Transport Evolved yesterday talking about the Hyperloop system and how the Hyperloop, what the Hyperloop is and what it might be like to travel in a Hyperloop transportation system. And I focused on the user experience rather than the technical aspects of actually making Hyperloop work. Now, in conclusion for that, I actually mentioned that there are technical challenges, financial challenges, regulatory challenges that need to be overcome before transport is allowed, or before Hyperloop is allowed to be used as a transport system. And for that, we need to make sure, we need to trust that governmental agencies are well and truly on top of any potential risks. And part of the challenges facing Hyperloop is that they will have to ensure that they have an appropriate safety system. They will have to ensure that they address those technical challenges before a Hyperloop transportation system is used for humans. We might see it working for cargo before we see it working for humans. Now, there are other situations in the transportation world where ruptures are catastrophic normally. The airline industry, for example, depressurization of airplanes is a major issue in many aircraft crashes. You have depressurization caused either by something impacting the plane from outside or something impacting the plane from inside going out. A Q&I library. I think the Hyperloop will work well for non-people. I think you mean cargo, but that would be that would be interesting. I don't think I'm not a non-person. I think maybe that's that would be fun. But as I was saying, there are depressurization risks in other industries, and we manage them very well. There's no reason why we can't build a Hyperloop system that has that same kind of high safety expectations as, say, an airline or space program. Don't forget that we're talking about engineers and technicians who are not just pie in the sky, but people who've worked on space travel as well as other mass transit systems. I hear your concerns, and one of the things I'd like to do moving forwards is to try and work on some more in-depth videos, maybe try and get some interviews with people involved in these kind of transportation systems. So if you know any contacts, do reach out and let me know. Now, the other thing here is obviously we're talking about using materials, high quality materials. Yes, that's correct. Could not think of the word. Cargo was the word. Thank you. I think, like any transportation system, I still think there is a great potential here for Hyperloop. Don't forget, we sent people around the world on airlines. We've sent people around the world using airlines for years. We sent people around the world using Concorde. That travelled faster than the speed of sound. And there was a point at which people worried about what would happen when an airplane broke the sound barrier. And then for, 2 decades, thereabouts, maybe 3, we had Concorde in everyday use. I know Concorde was around for a little longer than 30 years, but we had Concorde in everyday use and people used it. They didn't think twice about travelling by Concorde. And I think there will be a point in the future at which we've solved these engineering challenges and we will get Hyperloop travel. Now, a lot of people brought up cost as well. Cost for railway systems is incredible, partly because of the land use, but partly because of just the sheer cost to build the tracks. Why did you not show information about the pod competition? Good question. I mentioned it in passing, talking about the various competitions that take place, but I decided in that video to focus on commercial projects rather than the competition and the competition projects, but also because I have to work with the material that I have access to, and a lot of the stuff that I have seen. That's a fire alarm. Please bear with me. I need to make sure that my house isn't burning down. 1 second. Nope. I think we're good. Well, that was unexpected. I'm going to have a dog come up and ask for some attention now because he's noise sensitive. So yes, the pod competition, that was the reason why. Any other questions? Just fire them at me and I'm going to answer them as we go through. And again, Guido, I'm going to be doing more projects, more videos on things like Hyperloop. I mean, Transport Evolved is not just electric cars. It's a personal bugbear of mine when people come to me and say, oh, you're just about electric cars. And actually, no, I want to travel. I want to challenge other forms of transportation as well. This summer, for example, I would love to get in some human-powered vehicles because there are some great human-powered vehicles around. I'd love to give one of those a go and sort of work on that looking forward. Hello, Nikki. Love your show. Thank you, Zimpaz. I love that you love my show. We're growing. Transport Evolved has gone through some pretty incredible growth in the last couple of weeks. So I'm kind of trying to meet the expectations of everyone by trying to be a little bit more approachable, a little bit more personable, easier to get hold of, etc., etc. I think the Hyperloop would work well without pumping out all the air. They could, over time, updates, retrofits, go to lower pressure over time. That's true, but remember that Hyperloop is not pumping out all of the air. Hyperloop is not a vacuum. Whatever you've been told, Hyperloop is not a vacuum. The whole idea, at least in the original technical paper, was that you used a fraction of normal air pressure to lower wind resistance, effectively, the friction due to pushing air out of the way. Elon Musk's original prototype, in fact, uses a fan to take air from the front of the vehicle and push it to the back using tubes down the side of the capsule. Now, I don't know enough about what Hyperloop 1 and HTT are doing to know if that's something they're still going to work on, or if they are looking to a practically vacuum-based solution. But there are some risks there that I think a low pressure system doesn't have. But you're right, you could increasingly over time, as the system became more proven, you could reduce the air pressure in there. What are my hopes for the new Leaf in September? Well, that's a good one. For those who don't know, we do have a Nissan Leaf here. We've had 2 Nissan Leafs personally in the Gordon Bloomfield family. The Transport Evolved staff fleet, as it is, staff fleet, contributor fleet, call it what you will. We've had 2 Nissan Leafs, 3 Nissan Leafs, sorry, in total. On a 2011, 2 2011s, and a 2013 more recently. And my hope for the 2018 Leaf is 250 miles of range plus, an option to have an entry-level model without any of the super high-tech advanced features that you don't really need. I would like to have the same kind of approach to autonomous driving that Tesla has. So every car is built with passive safety technology built in. So cross collision, emergency braking, etc., etc. And then add on top of that the whole option of having autonomous vehicle drive moving forward. So those would hopefully lower the cost for entry level. I would also like at least 250 miles of range. I would like CHAdeMO DC quick charging. I would like the cars to be built with 150 to 250 kilowatt charging capability. If they only launch with 50 kilowatts, but they can be upgraded over time, that would be good. And the smart choice to do there would be to build the CHAdeMO power circuits on the car to be capable of receiving 250 kilowatts of power, but when the car launches, software restrict it to 50 kilowatts, because there aren't any 150 kilowatt CHAdeMO DC quick chargers. I think there's some 100 ones around, but really, I mean, most CHAdeMO DC quick chargers are only 50 kilowatts, so it doesn't really make sense to push that until the charging network is available. What else? Let me think. I want the new Leaf hopefully to have the same size wheels. That's just selfish, because I've got a set of winter tyres that I would like to transport over to the new Leaf. And no, we haven't committed to buying a new Leaf yet. I mean, we will wait and see. But right now, the Nissan Leaf we have does meet 90% of our needs, maybe even 95% of our needs. Slightly less than it did in the UK, because we're driving longer distances now being in the US. The other issue that we have here is that we have the, let me see where I've lost my train of thought there. The other issue that we have is that we have friends and family beyond the realistic range of our Nissan Leaf, and so that means stopping and charging. And I regularly go up to Seattle for things, to see friends, and also for events up there, and it would be nice to have a car that had those 250 miles of range. I like the way that Nissans are built. I like the fit, the finish. It's more practical, and it doesn't feel super cheap, and generally the build quality is pretty good. We have had some build quality issues with our current Leaf. I noticed this morning that the auto window up doesn't work. The auto window down for the driver's window works, but the auto window up, it doesn't work. You have to hold it. We've also had some electronics issues with that 12-volt battery, and it turns out that it does look like it's a relay in the car. The battery itself is fine, but it's a 12-volt relay inside the car that might be causing the issue. So that video I made a couple of weeks ago about the 12-volt battery, while that still stands, in our case, it's been exacerbated by a faulty relay within the car. So we had a flat battery again yesterday morning. I was able to jump start the car, and I'm keeping a very close eye on it. I've pulled a couple of error messages off the car and taken kind of photographs of those, so I've got those on my phone, and I'll be paying attention to them. Now, I just need to read these comments. Another issue with depressurization is the hull stress over the lifetime. That's true. What type of safety mechanisms could be used to prevent a catastrophic failure of the tube when there hasn't been years of experience in something like this? We can assume that we have a backup safety feature, but look at Orwell's dam emergency spillway. Things built and maintained at the lowest cost possible. That threatened 200,000 people because of cost-cutting savings. Now, very, very good question there, Kia. The issue here, I think, is that, one second. This is a brand new type of transportation, and you know, our generation, this is a new thing for us. I mean, we've grown up with airplanes, we've grown up with trains, we've grown up with cars, we've grown up with motorcycles, and the concept of a new transportation technology just scares us witless because we've never had to deal with that before. But if you think about our grandparents, or maybe our great-grandparents, transport was constantly evolving. And yes, early cars were terrible to maintain, and they crashed a lot, and you know, they weren't very safe. They didn't, you know, seat belts weren't really around. But I think with the modern approach we have to space travel, to commercial airplanes, future technologies with composites, really fantastic composites that are very, very solid, we're building the strongest materials we've ever done in history. And I think that's going to help us make Hyperloop possible. We have to stop thinking about transport in a 20th century technology way, and we can start looking towards 21st century technologies. And one of the ways to look at this is to look at something like the Tesla Model S, which is incredibly strong. I mean, you think about crashes that have happened involving Tesla Model S, where people have just walked away, where if they were, you know, 10 years ago, if had that crash been in, say, a car of 10 years ago, they wouldn't have walked away. I mean, it's something that I'm constantly on my teenager who likes to sit in the back of the car, you know, with her knees up and head down. I'm constantly asking her to sit in the seat so that the seatbelt can actually do its job properly. And I actually said to her one day, look, if you were doing this in a Tesla Model S, it probably wouldn't be so much of an issue, but you're doing it in an older car, and I don't want you to be in a wheelchair for the rest of your life because you weren't sitting properly and you know, had some major injuries as a consequence. The composites that we're seeing for the BMW i3 and some of these other cars that are coming to market, we're understanding CFRP so much better. CFRP is a lot cheaper to work on than traditional metals like steel. CFRP is a lot stronger, it's a lot lighter, and those kind of materials, I think, are going to be what we're going to see in commercial Hyperloop travel. They're going to have higher tensile stress, strength, not stress. And so I think those materials and materials science will provide us with increasingly robust composites that we can use in that process. Just tweeted you and James a YouTube video. They crash tested the new four new EV and Model 3 and BMW i3 had issues. Not sure if official crash test videos. Okay, I'll have to look at that. Just give me a second. Let's see what we have here. Oh, yes. Yes, okay. Let me move these over here. Was the models? Oh yeah, IHSS. Yeah, no, this is an old video. It's the Model S and the BMW i3. Now this question, this is a video that we actually featured on Transport Evolved probably back in January, when this video is from January. So this was a video in which the Tesla Model S and the BMW i3 failed. to get the IIHS Top Safety Pick Award, which has become kind of the de rigueur standard in the US. If you want to have a car that's viewed favourably by customers, the IIHS, the Insurance Institute for Highway Safety, is an independent body that crash tests cars. It works on behalf of the industry, the auto insurance industry. They, alongside NHTSA, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, both crash test cars and give ratings. Now, IIHS Safety Pick, I seem to forget. Let me just remind myself here for a second. It was the overlap test. Yeah, the small overlap front crash test. So the small overlap front crash test is when you have two cars heading towards one another, and the car, the two cars glance each other. You know, it'd be like if someone was wandering over the median and they catch the front of your car. It's a notoriously difficult crash test to ace, because you're putting the smaller the contact area when you have an accident, the greater the force on that area. I'm not going to go into the physics of it, but essentially if I poke you, if I'm running really hard and I run into you and I've got my finger out like that and my finger pokes you, or I'm falling from sky, let's pretend I'm falling and I poke you like that, the force of me poking you is going to be much more painful than if I actually just land on you. If I'm falling from the sky. I'm not explaining it very well, but the physics behind it, basically, the smaller the contact area, the harder it is for those cars to absorb the energy, and that was the problem in the Tesla Model S. Now, Tesla have already implemented changes so that the small front overlap test is improved, and I'm sure that they will be retested at some point in the future. IIHS are not like NHTSA. They don't have to crash test every make and model year of car. They just tend to. Now, in the sense of the BMW, I can't remember what it was for the BMW. I think it was to do with head restraints and seats. Right, so the BMW i3 is made of composite materials, very lightweight. The seat construction is very lightweight, and the head restraints are very lightweight, and that's what caused it to miss out on those IIHS top safety picks. But the thing to remember here is that cars are increasingly getting safer over time, and a car that got an IIHS top safety pick 5 years ago is not going to be as safe as a car that didn't get one right now. So I've got some people coming in from Patreon as well. So I'm just going to go into the Patreon page. Please bear with me, because people are asking me on Patreon too. Hello, people on Patreon. If you head over to our YouTube channel, you can ask questions there as well. Look at me. I'm just going through these comments now. Any further details on the 2018 Leaf? Well, we already talked about that, but the Nissan Leaf, the 2018 Nissan Leaf, no, we don't have any more details. We know it's going to have 60 kilowatt hours of lithium-ion battery pack. We know it's pretty much the same in terms of mechanics as the existing Leaf, at least that's what we're thinking. I expect the motor to be larger because the battery is going to be heavier. There's no way that I'm sure that the battery is going to be slightly heavier in the 60 with a 60 kilowatt hour pack compared to the 30. I know that battery energy density is improving, but I suspect they're going to have a slightly bigger motor to help with that, but also a slightly bigger motor because the Bolt EV has got a much bigger motor. It's 150 kilowatts, which is nearly twice the power of the current Nissan Leaf's 80 kilowatts. So that's what I'm expecting. I'm also expecting always on internet connectivity, which is something we've seen. ProPilot has been promised. We've seen that in Japan in certain models over there, and we're going to see it over here. I think ProPilot is something that I think active safety technology should be included in every car. Even if you're going to do the driving yourself, a car that can stop you from crashing is a good thing. We are easily distracted, and I don't think this is about having a car that has easily that stops us. Sorry, let me start again. I don't think this is about having a car that is about having worse quality drivers behind the wheel, but it's something that we need to have advanced safety technology to do. Sorry, I got distracted there. What is your take on the sales channels for EVs? I visited our local Renault dealer and spoke to the EV specialist. He asked what our normal use of the car will be. Told him it would be our second car, mainly short journeys. His response is that we would be better off with a petrol model. Now, this is a good question because, thank you, John. This is a good question because we've seen this in the US as well. There was a story on Electrek, I think, about a Chevy Bolt being sold by a dealer on the East Coast who had a video in which it was voiced over, and it talked about, great fuel economy, squeezing every drop out of the fuel. And in that case, it was just, I think, probably a processing error, because those videos are made in high videos are made in high volumes. So they'll have a script and the person will just read off whatever the words happen to be, and then they'll piece together an ad from those cuts that then gets put on the channel. So whoever put that video together didn't quite understand that it's an electric car, or maybe didn't have the phrase they needed, or didn't think that anyone would notice. Now, in the case of dealer education, electric cars are not something that dealers actively look to sell because they are lower maintenance. They have a lower profit margin. And so they would much rather you bought a petrol or a diesel car and keep coming back to have things done to it. So that's the issue there. Sometimes it's to do with education, but sometimes it's just to do with the dealers not really understanding or not wanting to understand. And I think that's the biggest challenge we're going to see in the US, certainly moving forward. But it's something also in Europe. All right. How is the RAV? Oh, not tempted with the Bolt. No, I'm not. We did take a test drive. I've driven it. I liked it. My wife is less convinced. She liked the driving experience, but I think she has been bitten by Chevy one too many times and really would prefer to stay with a Japanese car. She's driven Hondas, Toyotas, and Nissans most of her driving career. Cold brew coffee in a mason jug, Portland. So how is the RAV4? The RAV4 EV is fine. It's still being looked at. So there was a battery pack issue. For those who don't know, we have a Staff 2002 RAV4 EV. It was donated to Transport Evolved. We use it as a daily driver. It's my car. And when we got it, it had a dead battery pack. The main nickel metal hydride battery pack was old and cranky and didn't want to work. All of the nickel metal hydride battery packs that are in any RAV4 EV on the road today are 15 years old now, or thereabouts. And you can't buy new ones because of the patent that to the large format nickel metal hydride battery cells, which is currently owned, I think, by Chevron. And they won't let anybody make new batteries for these cars. So all the batteries for these cars are 15 years old. Now, the good thing is that nickel metal hydride batteries are really hard to kill, and you can recondition them and just keep using them. Now, we put in a replacement battery pack last fall. That battery pack, unfortunately, is sick, and there was an issue with some of the other bits of the car. The person I'm looking at it, who doesn't necessarily want to be advertised, is gently balancing the pack because the batteries were really out of kilter, and he wants to give it back to me only when everything is tip top, because I think he thinks I broke it in the winter when we had it there for a short period of time. So it will come back. I'm going to email him later on this week. Love your shows. Keep going. Greetings from Germany, driving a Zoe. Hi, Marco. That's thank you. Lovely. I like the Zoe, actually. I'd love to get hold of a 40 kilowatt hour one. And that was my Alexa, I don't know why. Any scuttlebutt on whether we will see the Nissan ENV200 in the USA along with the 2018 Leaf? Fingers crossed, a van is the only form factor that will work for my needs. Well, now this is a really interesting question. The ENV200 I don't think is ever going to come over here because two things. Firstly, Americans love SUVs. Minivans, not so much. You know, there's a handful of minivans out there, but the ENV200 is, I think, from a passenger point of view, a great car. I would personally love a 7-seat ENV200 over here, especially if it came with a higher capacity battery pack. But for those who don't know, GM and Nissan have an agreement in the US when it comes to commercial vehicles. And the Chevy Express, I think they call it, is actually the ENV200. So Nissan have sold that vehicle to Chevy. Chevy produces a Chevy version of the, sorry, not the ENV200, the NV200, please excuse me. So the NV200, Nissan's petrol version of that vehicle, is sold in the US as a Chevy. Now you can also buy the petrol version over here, but I think maybe there might be some, you can't do the electric version. I have no proof to that. I have not been able to confirm that with anybody, so don't take my word for it, but that's my inkling. Love your show. Are you interested in the Model 3? If not, what will be your next car? The Model 3 is not going to work for me. I have a very active family. I have 2 kids, 2 dogs. I have a weird set of hobbies, including that guy behind me. So I have to carry large amounts of stuff, and a hatchback or an estate or an SUV is it's kind of my only form factor moving forwards. Also, I'm nervous about Tesla Model 3 reliability based on the Model S, and there was a really interesting article I read earlier today about Tesla's really going to have to pull the stops out on the Model 3. A lot of Tesla Model S owners suffer reliability issues with their cars, but they kind of don't mind because it's a Tesla. And I'm not sure how many Model 3 or mainstream buyers are going to feel the same way. So I'm probably going to stick with either a Nissan or maybe we may get a Chevy Bolt in the end, but it will be probably a mainstream car. The only other option will be if suddenly Transport Evolved takes off and becomes really popular, maybe we'll go with a used Model S. That's another option I would consider. Consider a PHEV Chrysler minivan. Yes, that would be a good one. I'm looking. We are from the UK. Should we wait for 2018 Nissan Leaf or continue with Tesla Model 3? Actual need is an electric, safe SUV. Now, the question I have here is, why do you need the SUV? It's interesting to see that. Personally, if you want an SUV, I think you're probably going to be better off with a hatchback than you would be Model 3, or just wait for a Model Y, or buy a... Oh goodness, if you're in the UK and you only have, if you need electric range, short electric range, then maybe an Outlander might work for you. I don't know. I would probably see what Nissan comes out with in September. If you're a Model 3 reservation holder, the chances are you're not going to get your car before September. So you've got time. You can cancel your order right up until you finalise it. So wait until September and let's see. Wind turbines now earning 3 months now. Well done, Callum. For those who don't know, Callum has a farm up in Scotland. Very, very nice. And it's a lovely farm, and he's got some great big wind turbines. You have 2 dogs. Then in which case, I don't think the Model 3 is going to be a good car for you. My 2 dogs are kind of small. I've got a Labrador and a Border Collie, but they're small for their breed. So a medium-sized dog as opposed to large dogs. I would go with the Outlander plug-in hybrid if you're in Europe. If you're in Europe, you might be able to get one, get some good deals on them. Yes, it does have a petrol engine, but that's a good all-round vehicle. Or the ENV200 in Europe. If you want an EV and you've got dogs, the ENV200 is a really good choice. And I suspect you'll get a bigger battery pack very soon. I mean, Nissan can't keep pushing it with a 30 kilowatt hour battery pack, inevitably. So I caught up with all the comments. Oh, I am in Germany, was inspired by your channel and brought a Leaf last year. Guido, I hope that it's behaving itself. I hope you're getting good, that you've got good experiences as a consequence. I'd hate to think that somebody bought an EV off the back of our channel and then decided that they didn't like it. That would be kind of bizarre. Right, I've just checked. You need to check something here. I'm just making sure that I've not missed any other comments from people, because people are commenting on in different ways. So, any idea how Patreon supporters are expected? I don't know. We've got quite a lot of people looking this. You need to open the link in YouTube to chat. Yes, you do. I'm sorry. Make sure that there's nobody else commenting here. All right. Just checking these other things. Alrighty. I think we've caught up with all the messages, and now you're going to have some more for me. The idea of no ENV200 in the USA makes me so sad. I need a commercial van, and an SUV is not the same. Maybe I'll have no choice, but Chrysler's reliability has been so poor. True. I would talk to Nissan. I mean, Nissan did bring the ENV200 over to Portland, actually. Portland General Electric had the couple running round the streets of Portland not too long ago. Not Portland General. It's PGE. Yeah, PGE, not PG and E. My 10-year-old daughter wants to say she loves your channel. Hello! I love it when young people say hi and that they like EVs. I got to tell you, my first experience with an EV was when I was 5. That was my first experience with electric cars, and I've been hooked ever since. So there you go. Hello from sunny Los Angeles. I was in Berlin and Hamburg 2 weeks ago, and saw one Zoe E and one BMW i3. I see EVs in LA all the time. Is the adoption rate in Germany really that low? Okay, so in Berlin and Hamburg, there are car sharing schemes in operation with electric cars, and I think you do see a lot of EVs in those areas. However, it's not very little can compare to LA or California in general. So there are, I think, probably slightly less electric cars in Germany than in, say, Norway, for example. I mean, Norway's got more than 50% of all new cars sold now are plug-in cars. But the issue in Germany very often is that we have autobahns in Germany that travel. You can travel super fast, and people like their BMWs. People like their Mercedes-Benz, BMW, and their Porsches, and they travel fast between cities on the autobahn. I think if you go to certain German cities, electric cars are more popular than others. I know, for example, northern Germany, lots of EVs up there. In general, Germany is far behind Norway or UK. There you go. But I mean, Angela Merkel is working really hard, and her government, as I've heard, to promote EVs now, or at least Chancellor Merkel has been working on that. I don't know if they've actually managed to do anything now, but I know they were definitely talking about it. Actually, 1 month ago, I went to their website and told them I wanted an ENV200. Perfect. My first experience, says Gray, of electric cars was with golf carts. Still fun though. I'll try Oslo next time for a good European EV fix, says Kerry. Yes, Oslo's a lovely city, you know, I would actually say I see a lot of EVs in Scandinavia. Full stop. Obviously, Norway is more. Quite staggering around the adoption rates. Yes, 40% plus. Well, it's now 50% plus. It's going up on a month-by-month basis. And it's really good to see. It's become kind of this snowball effect, and I think once we see longer range electric cars becoming more affordable, I think we're going to see that increase. It's going to be interesting to see what the Ampera E does when it goes on sale in Norway. Obviously, I think that's going to be the launch market for the Ampera E in Europe. People keep asking me, actually, talking about that. What's going to happen with Opel now that GM has sold Opel to PSA, which is Peugeot Citroën? The existing vehicles will be sorry. I don't know if you saw that. This just came through. House leaders postpone vote on healthcare bill as they struggle to meet demands from Conservative lawmakers. Good job. That means the replacement for the Affordable Care Act has been delayed. Back to EVs. Where was I? Yeah, I think Opel being acquired by PSA or sold by to PSA is not going to affect the Ampera E. I think the Ampera E will probably be safe. What we won't see is a next generation of that car in Europe. So GM is not going to sell the next generation of that car in Europe. But Opel will probably buy the Ampera E or the Bolt and rebadge it, because it's already in progress. You don't kind of just stop making popular models or models that could be popular straight on. GM needs to do a right-hand drive version of the Bolt EV. They don't have one. That is, yeah, but I don't think it's going to sell in the UK. I think this is the thing. I don't think the Ampera E is going to sell in the UK. And I don't think it's going to ever be sold in Australia or New Zealand either. I don't think they are going to make a right-hand drive version of that car. So if you're in the UK, forget it. Which is a shame, really. There we go. Fiat also needs to sell the 500e internationally. Better fit there. Yeah, I agree. The Fiat 500e would be great in Europe, in the UK and all over these other places. Australia, yeah, it's only left-hand drive, not right-hand drive for UK, Hong Kong, Japan, etc. Australia, New Zealand, all of those places. Wow, this is great fun. The time is just going shoop, going past so far. I'm trying to figure out what video I'm going to be making later on today. And I'm interested to know if any of you are wanting me. I may not make a video today after I've done this. I may not make a video today after I've done this Hangout, because this Hangout seems to be doing really well. But I'm curious to know what you thought of yesterday's Hyperloop video, the one where I had a green screen and a little bit more like TEN, a little bit less like what I'm doing now. I'm just checking to make sure nobody else in Transport Evolved is... sorry, nobody else in Patreon is missing out here. Now, just a bit of a plug here for Patreon. If you don't support Transport Evolved by Patreon and you would like to, please go to patreon.com/Transport Evolved. You can make a donation there. Currently, we're bringing in just over $1,400 a month, or $1,400 and some dollars. People told me off the other day. Someone told me off for saying 1,400. I grew up with saying 1,400. It's an old thing. Just save and publish this Hangout. I think I probably will. It's live on the internets now, so it's fine. Both are fine with me. The style yesterday was cool. Now I'm using a new streaming. I'm using the same program that I used to use for Transport Evolved show to do this. And there's an update to this. It's about $250. I need to get that because it will then allow me to stream to Periscope and all of that. So that's going to be fantastic. And then we'll have double streams happening at the same time. Someone let me know what you think about the quality and the audio and everything else. I don't know what the quality of this looks like. I'm just looking at the version going out. I can probably show you actually. Here we go. Recursion. So this is what I'm seeing. Okie dokie. So, I'll move my camera back here. You want to focus on me, nothing else. Right, and so this is essentially, we're moving the Transport Evolved channel towards more videos. And I think if you'd like, I can give you kind of a bit of a brief rundown about where we want to go with the channel, where I want to go with the channel. Right now, the money that we're bringing in is not enough to pay anybody else to come and help me film. I'm not the greatest when it comes to video production. I'm not the greatest when it comes to, you know, filming drive-bys and stuff like that. But I love being in front of the camera, and I'm like doing the video stuff and the talking. Good audio, great. It's because I've got a small furry thing on my my thing here. This is a small furry thing. It's a lavalier microphone, and it's my outdoor one that I use when I'm doing costume performing because it gets rid of wind noise, and my computer here is a bit noisy. So rather than feeding it through my big mixing desk over there, it's just going straight into my computer. I'm kind of impressed with that. Where was I? Right. So, yes, I like that you cover public transportation and the Hyperloop. Good. Can you make a video on the EPV you said when I asked you about the Tesla Model 3 and Leaf 2018? Maybe. I'm more excited about high-speed rail. The videos are excellent as they are. Thank you very much. So what we're going to do moving forward, what I want to do, right now it's very easy for me to make videos in my home because of my family situation. I have one child at home at the moment, one child living in a care facility at the moment. And that means it's very easy for me to film in the house. But this isn't one room, so this whole level is one room. So living room, dining room, and kitchen. So I need an office space at some point so I can get the green screen up and running, because I have to build it and tear it down every time I film. And that's the next challenge for me. There's an office space downtown that I'm looking at. I can afford it technically, but I need to make sure that I've got enough overhead to keep everything else running. But I've also been upgrading some of my production equipment of late. I don't think I've got it here. We recently acquired a GoPro Hero 5, which you will see in the latest video that we made. In fact, you already saw it. If you watched the Leaf tire swap video, this was responsible for the in-car video, which is very, very good quality. So thank you to everyone who's supporting. Stuff like this makes a really big difference to how we're doing the show. The next thing on the cards is a new graphics card. The reason behind that is the graphics card we've got, I can't remember what it is. The graphics card we're currently running on is a NVIDIA GTX 660, which is kind of old. It's like 4 years old. And it's only got 2 gigabytes of memory, which means it struggles with a lot of the higher quality video that we produce. So we're going to save up and get an RX 480 with 8 gigabytes of RAM, and that's about $300, and that will go into this edit machine and hopefully make it easier and quicker for me to edit videos, which means I can produce more of them. So yay, fingers crossed. The other thing that we're going to be working on is saving up a bit of cash so that we can go to more shows and do more videos. And there's a video series that I would love to do involving encouraging people to be more efficient in their driving, whether it's with an EV, whether it's an electric, whether it's an EV, whether it's a plug-in hybrid, whether it's a petrol, diesel, whatever. Just encouraging people to be more efficient and learning about how they can keep their car in good condition so it rewards them with good range or fuel economy. On the high-end EV front, what do you think of the formerly Activa Lucid Air? Well, I haven't been in it yet. I missed those guys at CES because it was only me, and CES is one of those shows you cannot cover comfortably if you're there on your own. You need to have 2 or 3 colleagues, someone to do the videos, someone to do the interviews, and I just didn't have time to get over there and test it out. I'm intrigued. It certainly looks like it's a real competitor to the Tesla Model S, but I mean, there are a lot of challenges that face Lucid to bring these cars to production. Of course, it's got some really good folks behind the scenes. It's got shared heritage with the Tesla Model S. We'll see what happens. RX 480 is a good GPU. Any plans for 4K? Well, funny you should say that. So this is the camera that I use for all of the Transport Evolved video. This is a Canon T3i or 600D if you're in the UK. This is actually a 600D model because it came from England. And this shoots 1080, but it's a three-quarter frame camera. So eventually this will get upgraded to a higher quality camera. Am I going to film in 4K? Eventually, I would love to, but only when I've got all of my kit, and I want to focus on the content rather than the content of the video and the filmmaking behind it before I upgrade the equipment. This camera is capable of a whole lot. I will probably upgrade to maybe a 5D, something maybe that I can shoot raw footage in, and then that enables me to wring every ounce out of the camera. This camera's got something called Magic Lantern on it. Let's see if I can show this to you. This is called Magic Lantern. It's a firmware upgrade that allows me to do a lot more with the camera than I normally would not be able to do. Even simple things like ensures that it carries on recording. When it reaches the end of the file, the limit of the file size, it just starts a new recording. That's a very useful feature. I nearly got up to put my lens cap on, and then I remembered that I'm connected to my computer by an umbilical cord. So there we go. So, new series sound closer to how I drive. I don't need 4K for content is much more important. Great. Well, there you go. But we're also focusing on quality. So something weird happened to the Transport Evolved channel. We are going to upgrade our edit machine because I need to be able to get videos out more quickly. That's something that I need to do. This computer is 2012 we got this, and so it is due an upgrade, and we have got to improve that as time goes on. But something weird happened to our YouTube channel over the last couple of weeks. We've gone from having, you know, just I think we would get maybe, let's have a look. You do need a very powerful computer. I've got a friend of mine who's trying to film in 4K at the moment, and he's hitting some really nasty stuff. Robert has just released, there you go, when we're done, Robert Llewellyn has just released the Smart Electric Drive review, the Smart for 2 ED. So go over to his channel when you're done and watch that. And James Cook, congratulations, mate. You've just gone over your 10,000th subscriber. Woo! Good job, man. 10,000 subscribers. Good on you. So if you don't subscribe to Robert Llewellyn's channel or James Cook's channel, you know what? I'm just going to put them in here right now because that would be good. I'm actually going to tweet out congrats to James. Just congratulating you. I've forgotten what his Twitter handle is. 1 second. Got to find that out. I do follow him on Twitter. But it's not... that's it. Well done. Whoops. So there we go. I just told him he got some love on our live stream. So hopefully he will... He and I have talked about doing some stuff together. Just for those who are interested. He is a great guy and he's lovely, and we are going to do some stuff together. I think we're talking about doing some stuff with the Model 3 when that comes out. So there you go. Everyone go sub them. Yes. Also, I'm going to give you Mr. Robert Llewellyn, who I miss dearly. I miss doing stuff with Robert. We very often ended up on the same press launches and stuff. So very often we'd end up sharing a car. Because I don't know how you guys know about these things, but when you do a press launch, very often you end up being paired up with another journalist. So one journalist drives and one journalist just sits in the passenger seat, and they can be like a co-pilot or whatever. But in the case of, you know, doing press launches, very often he and I would share a car because we both knew that we had to film and we both knew how the other worked. So it was just really easy for us to share a car and film. And I miss doing that because it was fun. Damn it. I need to do more video stuff. So that when we went to when he drove from Oslo to London, I was in the car with him and I was filming my own version of that, and then it all went wrong when editing and I wasn't able to actually produce the final thing, which was... But there we go. He says hi and hopes that you are well. Oh! Hello! I know who you are now. I hope. Were you dressed up when you said hello? Because that would be a bit weird. Yeah, I might be doing something. I don't want to say, stuff. I'd like to do more stuff with people. Let's put it like that. More collabs. Well, we're coming to the end of today's hang time because I said it was going to be an hour long. If there's any other questions that you have that you want to ask me, now is the time to do it, or forever hold your peace. Would you like to do another one of these in a week or in a couple of weeks? I'm too poor to support you on Patreon, but I always like and comment on every video. You know what, Gray? That means as much to me as people digging in their pockets. Spreading the word about what we're doing and what I'm doing is fantastic. Spreading the word about EVs and future transportation is fantastic. And I'm glad that you didn't approach Robert Llewellyn as a giant cat. That would have been maybe slightly worrying for him. You do share your videos to my blog a lot. Well, you'll have to give me your blog at some point. I have driven nothing but EVs since autumn 2013 and I'm obsessed. Would love to contribute to the TE website. How should I reach out to you, your staff? Send us an email, show@transportevolved.com. There you go. The other thing, we want to keep Transport Evolved running. For those who've been watching, again, I got distracted. I was talking about where I wanted the channel to go. We started, I'll answer that question about the hatchback in a second. It was the other hatchback I said to look at would be the ENV200. Am I going to buy a new EV anytime soon? For more range, a Nissan Leaf, Bolt or Model 3. So, we've had a family member who's been really sick for the last couple of years with some pretty nasty stuff. And they're in treatment facilities right now. And the medical bills have been pretty darned high. So we haven't had a huge amount of money. We did get a tax rebate this year, some of which went on to helping with that. But when the funds come in, when we might, get a new Leaf, possibly. Won't be a Bolt, I don't think, and it won't be a Model 3. I think it will probably be a Leaf, unless someone comes along with a car that's better and whatever. Now, where was I? Yes, I was talking about what we're doing with Transport Evolved. So we did, originally, we started as a podcast. Then we went to being a news site where we did the podcast and we did articles. I was working for another company when I started the podcast. So then I started my own news site when I was no longer working for them. And I enjoy writing articles. The problem is bashing out 10,000 words a day is hard work when it's just you writing. And we did have some other people contributing, but then you have to edit other people's work and you have to make sure it fits in with the house style. It takes a lot. And it got to a point where I wasn't able to keep up. So Green Car Reports, Inside EVs, Electrek. When I was in the UK, I got the lead on those guys because I was ahead of them by a couple of hours. And I was able to jump in and get stuff. Now I'm on the West Coast, so I'm behind a lot of the people who write for those sites are on the East Coast. So by the time I wake up, all the stories are broken, and so I don't get any additional fun from breaking a news story. And additionally, I try and write contextual stuff. So when I'm writing articles now, I'm trying to deep dive into the subject, ask lots of extra questions, provide extra content and context. And that means I was only writing 1, maybe 2 articles a day. I enjoy doing video and presenting more than I do writing articles. So I enjoy writing, I just enjoy doing videos more. So I've done more videos of late, and actually income's going up, viewership's going up. We had 300,000 views last month, I think, or we were about 300,000 this month. And that just blows my little mind, frankly. That just blows my mind. Let's have a look. I was actually going to look at that. Robert's already got 1,000 and some views. Whoa, Robert. I'm really proud of how amazingly quickly Robert's channel has just blown up. It is fantastic. And we are just about to cross over 12,000 subs. So James is about 2,000 behind us. Let's see. I'll give you some figures quickly. I do. I need a UK writer for that. And I think it's also really funny. I don't think people would mind me saying this, but for those who don't know, I am a furry as well as, you know, into the electric vehicle world. And it's one of those, I'm one of those people that if you meet me, you start talking to me about all the things I'm into and I enjoy. And I invariably just evangelize about electric vehicles to whoever I meet. And there are 3 people right now in the chat room that I recognise from the Furry Phantom who are all talking, well, I never thought about an electric car until I came across you. So, you're welcome. I do need a UK writer. I do need a UK writer for Scoops. So this month, I have had, I think, yeah, we're heading up to 350,000 views. A couple of months ago, that was like 100,000 a month. So something big's happened and I'm just pushing. That's why I'm changing the way that we do the films. I'm going to write another script for a show today. I'm also going to work on tomorrow's show. I also have another, and yes, my headgear is behind me. That's one of my characters. His name is Chimichanga the Fox. There was another one on the way. I was working on her yesterday with the maker. Where was I? Brain and gear. Rewind. Yeah, so I'm working on improving the content of the channel, working on some new stuff. I've got a new potential business opportunity that I cannot talk about yet, but when I do know it, I will talk about it with you. We had an EV corner at the Moto Fur Meet last year. You would have been proud. Yes! There's going to be one at the local convention this year. I was actually at one of, I brought my car I brought my Volt to a Moto Fur Meet at Confuzzled 2015, I can't remember. It's been a long time. I'm sure you're all cool people. We're all nerds. Nerd love. And on that note, I think I'm going to say goodbye. Thank you for joining me. We will do this again. I'm going to save this because this worked so well. I will do another hangout and hang time in the future, just as a plump, just as a promotion here. This will be published live on the internet. So anything you've said here will go live onto the internet afterwards and is being streamed live to the internet. But if you would like a more personalized experience, maybe, we have a Patreon hangout. Not a hang time, a hangout for everyone who donates more than $30 a month to Transport Evolved for your Patreon. There's currently about a dozen people, half dozen to a dozen people who do this. And that is a proper hangout in Google, which is not saved and broadcast. It's private hangout. You join with your own webcam and your camera and you talk to me using your camera and your webcam. You don't talk to me using the chat here. So that will happen as well. So if you donate more than $30 a month, you will get a call from me or an invite from me later this month for the Patron Hangout, which will be a proper hangout as opposed to hang time. And I've stolen that name from the guys at Patreon. So thank you for that. Don't forget to support us. We will be back soon. I've really enjoyed this. I just want to keep going, but I know I need to stop. So until next time, folks, thanks for watching and keep evolving.